Hi, I'm Parker Miley.
And I'm Tim Benjamin.
And this is the Rage Podcast, where today we're going to discuss something that is the heart and the pulse of every organization, every local church building, and in the larger sense is the heartbeat to the church as a whole. All right?
And I would even go so far as say every nonprofit you've ever seen, every charitable organization, all this stuff runs on our topic for today.
So, first I'm going to explain a little bit about a situation, okay? For me, my number one top dream goal in life, like if everything it was just unlimited, I could easily do it, not easily do it, but I could get it done somehow, it would be I want to run my own worldwide ministry, all right? And it'd be Micah 6:8 Ministries, all right? I typed up the plans for this like 2 years ago, okay? It's been like my dream for a while now, okay? But Micah 6:8 Ministries, where, you have people going all around the world, teaching to walk justly, walk humbly and love kindness and yada, 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 yada. All right, that's just the main cause of it. But then it was like...
First of all, is anyone in the Rage Podcast shocked that he just said this? Okay, I didn't think so. Go ahead.
But then, like, the hard part is, it's like, how do I dare try to convince someone to go and actually do something? And I mean, doesn't sound like it's supposed to be a hard question, but within the last 2 years of my life, I have been exposed to a lot of adulthood, and I've realized, that is the hardest thing to get anyone to do, is to literally do anything.
And that's because we have assigned, and I don't know that we're necessarily wrong about this, but we have assigned an incredible value to our time. Mm-hmm. I mean, and again, I'm not saying that's necessarily even wrong, but we have. You could give somebody money, you could give them attention, you could give them anything, but buddy, you give somebody your time, and that is a significant investment. Mm-hmm. So that's what we want to talk about today is the V word, volunteerism.
Which, for those of you who probably don't know what that is.
Yeah, I feel like it means you work for nothing. That's what it means.
But honestly, that's what I like, especially in my generation. Volunteerism isn't like a thing.
Yep.
And
it's a dying art today. It is.
And I'm not going to like profile everyone, because I believe I do a bit of volunteering every once in a while, all right? But like...
Parker's trying to pick up for his entire generation.
Yeah. But as a whole... volunteering and like I'll say it in this sense of like even going like churches going on mission trips. Like if you look at Wayne Street, when we were like when the mission teams they talked about it a couple months ago at their last mission update. We used to go on missions like weeks away, going places and being the hands and feet, right? Mm-hmm. In Guatemala and all those areas. And it had like obviously we had COVID, and COVID I think really, spiked I'm not going to volunteer. That's fair.
Well, that kind of volunteering where you're going on mission trips, it did put the kibosh on that.
So, I mean, there's all those things, but like even something as simple as staying local and doing anything, whether it be, we're going to clean up a park, we're going to, help Agape Ministries out, or whatever that may be, it is like, what's in it for me? Like, I like... For kids my age, for people my generation, that's bizarre to say, well, what's it? Like, they're expecting, if I'm going to give you my time, I expect something to come out of my time.
Yeah. See, my generation, I'm a Gen Xer, and we were kind of the end of the volunteering thing. I did quite a bit of volunteering when I was Parker's age, and people my age did. We went on, like he was talking about, mission trips. We'd have church projects. We'd have school projects and things where you put in a lot of volunteer hours. Even when I was in college in the mid-'90s, quite a bit of volunteering and things. It was just something that we did. And wasn't necessarily that we were looking to get paid. I mean, everybody likes to be recognized, so I don't mean that. But we knew it was a part of what we were doing. And, man, today... Even trying to pay people to do stuff is a trick today. Mm-hmm. But the idea of volunteerism, though, it doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't exist, because we certainly have volunteers, but boy, it's not like it used to be.
Yeah, it's not as expected. Like, I feel like when you are and again, I'm not of your generation, but I feel like when you were growing up, volunteerism was kind of expected.
Absolutely, it was.
And
Absolutely
anymore, it is not expected. But here's what I'm going to tell you about my generation. I don't think some people always understand. My generation, you're either an incredible hustler, all right? You're constantly working, so that's where the idea comes. I'm going to give time, and out of my time, I want something back, all right? So I'm constantly working towards getting something out of my investment, all right? Or you have the part of my generation that's just doesn't care about anything, and that's that.
And I think I can tell you why this is. It's because when I was growing up, when I was young in like the 80s, we had lots and lots of unstructured time where my parents would throw me out of the house and they wouldn't see me till the sun would come down. And we'd be out running the fields with my cousins, and we'd be, chasing things and falling out of trees and drinking out of the garden hose. And we would have, like over the summer, we would have weeks at a time where we were completely on our own, completely autonomous. It wasn't like mom and dad didn't check up on us. Obviously, I survived. But the idea of anything structured, it didn't exist. Where today I've noticed parents have their kids in structured stuff almost constantly. They're in sports leagues. We would just go organize and go play baseball. I mean, we'd have team, we'd have T-shirts. We just pick it up and go play. Where now everybody's in a league and it's organized and there are teams and there's practice, and everything is dictated for this generation. Where it wasn't for us, we had to create our own structure, and if we wanted to do it, we had to make it happen.
So this brings up, if I say like that mentality, right? So where you would go and you would start a baseball game. I remember my parents when I was young saying like, "Why don't you go like have a baseball game with your friends?" I was like, "What are you even talking about?"
Exactly, don't even understand.
What? I was like, "You want me to just go get all my friends and have like it was a concept."
We wouldn't even have shirts and hats and gloves.
I was like, "What are we gonna get? Like 3 people?" And it was like, "Who's on?" I mean, who one's got to pitch and one's got to hit, and the other one's where's he gonna be?
Well, it's cool when I get to go hit. Somebody else can use my glove out in the field. That's the way we used to do it.
But it just doesn't. Because I remember my parents would be like, "What do you why are you at home?" And it was like, "Where else am I supposed to?" Like, what do you mean?
Nothing going on.
It was like that's, and I think that actually is a big thing because now you have such organized ways to spend your time,
and you have experts running things. That's why one of the things that we struggle with in the church is getting people to lead a Sunday school class because we have professionals to do that. And that, again, that's not how it was when I was growing up. I mean, honestly, I had Sunday school classes when I was Parker's age where I was telling the teacher what the scripture was about. Not out of arrogance, just because the person was like, my job is make sure no one dies here and in this Sunday school class. And so, we would have conversations. And I'm not dogging anybody from my church. I'm being funny. But we would have these conversations where we would do stuff. And they were led by professors, led by somebody's mom. And we would do that. My mom taught Sunday school for umpteen years at my home church. And, so it wasn't led by professionals, led by volunteers who would just get a little book and we'd read a little book together and we would learn. And everything was self-created. We didn't have to have professionals and organization and leagues and all this stuff anymore.
And that is I didn't even think about that, but that's so very true because when I hear like volunteer anymore, I was like, well, how good of a job can it actually be? All right. And I feel like that's why it's so hard. And I think that's going to be, if we ever want to go back to a generation where we want to have volunteerism and being able to spend your time expecting nothing back in return other than a satisfied mental state, okay, then this has to loosen up the sense of, I need a professional to teach me.
Well, what we used to do, and the reason we would do this is because people like my mom, what she decided was, she said, I'd rather this Sunday school class be taught by somebody who didn't know what they were doing rather than not having a Sunday school class at all. Where today we've decided, hey, if we don't have somebody who's trained to do this, we'd rather not even have it. And that's a whole different mentality. And again, nothing against my mom who did a great job teaching Sunday school for all those many, many years. But that's what she decided. She said, I would rather I do this even though I still have questions about my ability and whether or not I can do this as well as the pastor does. But if it's not going to get done otherwise, at least somebody should do it. Where today, we're just as happy to let that opportunity slide right on by if we don't have a super highly trained, professionally organized situation going on. And I think that's sad because if I were to go back and list out the people in my life who are the most influential on me, there's going to be some pastors in there. There's going to be some professors from Ohio Northern. There's going to be some teachers and some coaches. Absolutely. But there's also going to be my bus driver who I shared the pew with. And there's going to be the funeral director who sat in the pew in front of me. And there's going to be a farmer in front of him who sat in front of him who were friends with my parents, who was a missionary in Africa, and I went over to visit him while he was there. Those people were not professionals. But they decided, look, there's something here that needs to be done, and rather than leave it undone, we're going to do it. Because we refuse to allow this to not be done by anybody. Where today, and again, I'm not just talking about Wayne Street. Yes, we struggle with this at Wayne Street, but every church I've been a part of have all been like that. And every volunteer organization, and I've been a part of a ton of them, all have the same problem is, well, I'm not a professional grill person, so I can't flip burgers for the fair. No, I think you could run a spatula. I think you could do that. And so I feel like we have relegated everything to experts and professionals. When, look, it doesn't take an expert or professional. Parker and I are both living proof that it doesn't take super highly trained professionals to pull things off. You know, the Rage podcast. What do we know about podcasting? Watch this podcast. You'll find out we don't know much. But we're putting something out there because we said, look, in the greater scheme of what's going on in the world, we'd rather there be a Christian voice out there. And if it's not going to be anybody else's, it's going to be ours. Mm-hmm. And, so we do this not because it doesn't show up in my job description. I know it's not in his because I wrote it. So we just do this because we think
still writing it.
yeah, with that other task to be assigned.
To be determined. Yeah. But I'm looking at, like, I feel like I was on here a couple rages ago, and I often talk to people about how I have fully possessed the mentality of if I don't, who will? Who will? Okay, mm-hmm. That's how
Not enough people are asking that question.
That's how I live. That's how I've really dived into that statement and tried to make it like a motto for a while now. It's like, if I don't do it, who's going to? Yeah, and
we've got to get to the point where we said, I'd rather this be done halfway than to not be done at all.
And now here's the problem. It is I'm getting myself into far too many nets right now. I'm very concerned about my schedule once I hit the fall, and then I have to do this thing called college, apparently, because, again, everyone has to be a professional.
Including professional Parker.
Yeah, so it's, I'm like, what is now so concerning to me, and it's like, well, now I'm going to have to start saying no. It's like, I'm freaking out. Because for so long I was like, well, if I'm not going to do it, who is going to? Who is going to do all these other things that need to get done?
And see, the problem is now you got one guy, you got this guy right here doing the job of what should be about 24 volunteers. And you got me in the same spot. You've got Jess and Don are in the same spot. Those are other staff people here at Wayne Street. The same spot doing jobs that should be handled by volunteers and aren't. Because people are afraid, and I'm not trying to say anybody's bad. Mm-hmm. I think it's a mentality thing.
I know what I'm going to tell you is it's a shift. I'm not going to say it's bad, but it's a matter of trying to figure out how are we going to work this out, right? We live in a generation where no one wants. Well, you either are, like I said, like my generation, I wholeheartedly see it day to day. You're either a hustler, right? You're working to always constantly getting and making your investments profitable. Even your time and everything you're doing, you're trying to seek a profit out of it. Mm-hmm. Or you just don't care at all and you're not going to do anything, right? That is the... I mean, obviously there's a little in between area, but I wouldn't say there's a lot, all right? There is the people that aren't going to stop, and there's the people that just don't care, okay? And so how are we going to, as a world, as a church, as a community, as, Tim is a member of the Rotary, as a Rotarian, and whatever group you're a part of, how are we going to say, when my generation, which my class just graduated from high school yesterday, okay? And so that means we're entering into the real world here soon, all right? My age is coming up. How are we going to making sure things such as Rotary, things such as
local churches,
park cleanup day, one day in the spring, that happened when I was in Little League, park cleanup day. How are we going to making sure that when we are becoming the leaders, when we are given the task to say, hey, someone's got to take this over, how are we going to making sure that happens? Because right now, that's the question I've been thinking about for a while, because I'm at the point, it's like, if I get one more thing, I'm not going to be able to properly perform at the other things that I've been giving. And I was like, and I'm going to give Wayne Street as an example. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, because cultural shifts happen, all right? And we just have to deal with it. I'm not saying anyone's bad for not doing anything. That's definitely not what I'm trying to say, because I think there's a benefit to trusting professionals, but I also can see the negative, all right?
Because there's too few to go around.
Here at Wayne Street, if anyone ever asks me what I do, I tell them I don't even know where to begin. And I'm not trying to say, oh, poor me, I'm a slave driver, but it's every day I come in, I'm doing something different. Mm-hmm. It's because I find something that just needs done. There'll be some days where I come in and I organize the library, mm-hmm. or I go down into one of those closets and I just start cleaning some stuff, or I'm typing up a Facebook devotional, or whatever it may be, or I'm getting ready to teach a small group class, or I'm meeting and talking to church members, or I'm going out in the community and making sure Christ is seen as an example, and making sure I'm representing the name of Wayne Street when I go out in the community and all those things. And that's a lot. But it doesn't require somebody a Parker status though to go and do those things. But no, I mean,
some of that could be done by other people. And if we had kind of a spirit of volunteerism, like I think used to be, a lot of those things could get done by people who have those organizational skills and have those kind of things. May not have I'm going to go up front and do a mile a minute during the service, but I can go clean out a closet. Mm-hmm. I can organize books on a shelf. I can go do those things. So if we had people doing that part, then we could free Parker up or me up or whoever else up to go and do what professionals do need to do. And so there's so many different pieces, especially in nonprofits like churches, that need to get done, that it doesn't require one person doing mm-hmm. all of them. And it's very important for us to realize that, because if it is one person or two people or a half a dozen people doing the work of 50 people, the organization's only going to mm-hmm. grow to the point that those 6 people can keep spinning all the plates.
And I'm going to give a prime example. Our blessing box is something that our church took on. All right, it's actually been, I feel like, maybe a little bit bigger than what some anticipated it being. If you walk out in front of it, you'll see no grass, because mm-hmm. It's getting used constantly. But what that means is, if we're going to have that offered there, when those shelves are empty, people see it, and it's like, oh, what's getting done? And I'll be leaving work and I'll drive by and I was like, oh shoot, that's empty, and it's like, and then people are like, well, why is this not getting done? And I was, again, that's not in my job description. Like, you can ask Tim. Mm-hmm. Tim makes my job description. And I was like, someone's got to get out there and fill that blessing box up.
Yeah.
And it cannot only rely on a few people, but it's a matter of everyone who goes away to Wayne Street and walks through the back door especially sees that big pile of food. And I'm sure we're not going to get too frustrated at anyone if they bring some food out there.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Yeah, it's all about being willing to take things on. And again, organizations like this one, we go as far as the man hours we can put into a project. So, I know, this week we're having Bible school and we got a bunch of people volunteering. And I'm just, I was watching last night was our first night. I was looking at all the things that were happening, because I was with games and there were people doing all kinds of things. I thought, how cool is this? Got all these people doing all these different jobs and things. I know Jess is, about to start bleeding from the eye sockets trying to get all these things together. But, did a great job. Had a great first night. We're looking forward to an even better night tonight. But we've got a small army of volunteers pulling this thing off that we couldn't do it without them. If it came down to just Don and Jess and Parker and I trying to pull this off, we would figure it out, because we refuse to let it go undone. But it would not be what it is now, I can tell you that. And so it's really cool to see the kids who are excited and playing the games and making the crafts and learning the lessons and all these things. Couldn't do that without our blessed volunteers that we love and appreciate so much. So that's what Parker and I wanted to encourage you with today with this podcast, is just to encourage volunteerism. Don't be afraid to actually put your hand up rather than making somebody come to you and ask. If you hear an announcement or if you know something's coming up, don't be afraid to put your hand up. Mm-hmm. And go get involved. I know that's scary because, first of all, it's countercultural. And second of all, you're like, well, I just want to help. I don't want to be in charge, because we all know how that goes. But there's a lot that nonprofits like this one can do if people are willing to fill it with man hours.
I don't want to be in charge. Here's what I'm going to tell you. We'll look at the example here in Wayne Street. We have Pastor Tim, who is everyone's boss. You have Don, who leads the youth ministry. You have Jess, who leads the children, and you have me, who does the cleanup. Okay, it's like not
he does everything else.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, sure. But I managed to somehow work within all of those other three categories. Okay, so it's like, well, if you don't need to lead, because we have Don to lead, we have Jess to lead, we have me to lead, we have Tim to lead. All we need is your help.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so like where instead of requiring on...
if you're not a Wayne Street person, your church runs exactly the same way.
Yeah. Instead of counting on, the professionals, because do you know, if you ever hear about how I got in this position where I'm at today, I did nothing. I had no experience ever in working in a church. I had experience making sandwiches at Subway. Okay? That's how professional my career was when I first came on staff here. What I did was I said yes. And I think that's what, not to hype myself up, but I feel like that's where the majority of my value comes from, is I'll say yes. It might be blow up in my face. It can possibly blow up in my face.
And I'm sure it has.
Many times. But say yes. I mean, I can remember texting Tim in my language arts class, and it wasn't even a question. Yep, I'll do it.
And see, and to have those kind of things Parker's presence here on staff has expanded what we're able to do here at Wayne Street. And every volunteer we have, from Donovan, who mows the yard, to people I see around here all the time doing stuff, and people helping clean up and be a part of that. Look, it doesn't seem like a big thing until you realize it's not me doing it. It's not Parker doing it, and that's a big relief to the people who are trying to fight their way through some of these uphill battles that we have. So that's what we're trying to get to today. Volunteers are the lifeblood of organizations that are trying to make a difference in the community, like churches, like nonprofits of all kinds. Whether it be the Family Life Center, or if it's Rotary, or the Ministerial Association, or any of the other organizations here in town, Kiwanis, all those things function, and they're limited by the number of man hours they can have, and so they need your help. And the amazing thing about that is if you really go now, sometimes it can get to be a drag. I get that, but most of the time, if you want to get involved in one of those organizations, you're going to feel a great sense of accomplishment by saying, this organization now exists and was able to accomplish this because of what we've done. And, I looked last night, we had, a whole slew of kids here. And all that happened because a couple people said, we want to have Bible school and this is how we want to run it. And that's where we are. And I know that the teachers are tired. I definitely give them that, but
it's only day one, though.
It's only day one.
Going on day two.
Yeah, but there's a great sense of accomplishment with that, and you almost, yes, you cheat the organization, but you also kind of cheat yourself if you're just going to sit on the sidelines. So I guess our encouragement for you today is be involved. Be involved in your community. Be involved in nonprofits. Be involved in churches, because that's what makes those organizations what they are. They are. They live and die by their volunteers and the people who are say, I believe in what this organization is about enough to actually do something about it. We were talking about how much we value something that we give our time to. Well, the opposite is also true. If you don't give much time to it, then you got to question how much value it actually has. So with that in mind, we want to, again, encourage you to get involved and volunteer and be able to reap the benefits, not only for yourself, but for the organization by the time that you invest. And You're gonna have X amount of hours in a day. We all get the same amount. What you spend those doing is up to you, and what the results of them are is determined by what you do with that time. And as always, we want you to make good choices. So we appreciate all of you who in the past or currently or in the future are a part of building up good things and making communities a better place by the way you invest your time. And we want to encourage you to be very intentional about that, because, again, there's really no more important thing you could do for an organization than to give it your time. So with that, anything more you want to say?
You covered it all.
So go volunteer. Good organizations need your time.